For decades now, Iowa has been the state with the nation's first presidential caucus, and New Hampshire the first primary. And while those states' primary voting bases are fairly representative on the Republican side, there is a real issue on the Democratic side that these momentum-setting states are so much wider than the nation, and particularly the Democratic Party as a whole. That said, there are over 3 million people in the state of Iowa, with significant variation and diversity depending on where you are. All-In correspondent Trymaine Lee set out to the town of Waterloo, where voters are looking for someone to represent all of Iowa's working class.
When you think of Iowa, most people think of farms and corn, and that the state is overwhelmingly white. But nestled on the banks of the Cedar River, the city of Waterloo defies those stereotypes. It's industrial, home to a John Deere factory, and it's diverse, with the highest percentage of African Americans in the state.
Waterloo is 70,000 people. Yeah. 16% African American, Bosnian, Burma, multiple dialects, and we are the microcosm of this entire country.
Mayor Quentin Hart was born and raised in Waterloo. He's the city's first black mayor, and he's running for a third term in November.
We cannot ignore the realities of places like Waterloo when it comes to having a national conversation about moving our communities forward.
Many African Americans first came to Waterloo in the early 20th century for work. The railroads lured them with the promise of jobs and used them to break a strike by the white union workers. Today, as then, the Cedar River literally divides the mostly black side of town on the east from the white side on the west. A lot of times when you hear politicians talk about reclaiming Midwestern voters, right? And the all-important Midwestern voter and the working class, do you get the sense that they forget about the black working class voters?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's why if you want to win in Iowa, you have to deal with the black middle class workers that we have here. It's not wasted time. They have to hear those voices. What are you going to do to help improve the lives and the conditions of people that live here?
Last year, Waterloo and neighboring Cedar Falls were ranked the worst metro area for African Americans in the entire country. How does a young black mayor become the mayor of a city in the worst place in America for black folks to live? How does that happen?
Well, you know, so let's put it like this. So I would say comparatively to many other communities, Waterloo has challenges just like everywhere else. To say that we are the worst, you know, I will never go with making that statement. To say that we have challenges and things that we need to work on, whether it's unemployment, whether it's home ownership, absolutely we have to.
Among the big concerns in Waterloo right now, how to grow jobs and encourage small business, especially minority-owned businesses like Speller's Hardware. Owner Alan Speller opened his store in 2016 because people in his part of town didn't have access to basic supplies like hammers and nails.
The hurdles are a little higher for us to jump. And it just kind of makes you question, okay, well, is this happening to everybody that opens a business, or everybody that's trying to open a business? Or maybe I just don't know the ins and outs of opening a business. Those hurdles just make it hard. It makes it hard for the community to grow. You know, a lot of people don't have the will and the drive to power past those type of hurdles.
The best and the brightest are leaving this area, you know, and maybe some of it's because of the subtle racism, and, you know, and the difficulties in establishing a business. My son grew up and was educated here. He's an optometrist, but he told me, Dad, he said, I just can't make it here. You know, he said, I got to get outside of here, go to a bigger city like St. Louis or somewhere, you know, where I have a chance.
As Iowa welcomes candidates running for president, communities like Waterloo are hoping to be heard.
Do you want to be president of the entire United States? And if you do, then you'll come to places like Waterloo. You'll put forth strategies to help support the mayor and support others that are trying to move our communities forward. But that's the question. You want to be president of the United States, or you want to be president of a few places? And we're hoping that people put together platforms that's all inclusive.
And Trymaine Lee joins me now. I learned so much. When you came with a pitch about Waterloo, I knew nothing about Waterloo, and then I was fascinated by it, and then I learned a lot from the report. The dynamics here where you got to see, it's not overwhelmingly African American. I mean, 16%. You've got a black mayor, majority white town, in a place that has a lot of, it seems like, segregation. How did those politics work there?
One thing that's amazing, that 16%, that's greater than the black population of America at 13, 14%. Right. One thing that's amazing in the big picture is that we've all kind of been programmed a certain kind of way. When you think about these Midwestern voters and working class and the Rust Belt, you think of white.
Always coded as white.
Always coded and we all kind of know that, even though we bought into it. But there have been black folks in these communities for generations, right? Lower from the South with the prospect of jobs. job, whether it's in Detroit or Gary, Indiana, or wherever in the Midwest. But here locally, they at once feel very Iowan and have Iowa values, and they're pragmatic and practical, but they feel ignored and neglected. I talked to a bunch of voters, sat in a soul food restaurant with a round table of black voters and said, what matters to you in this community? And they said, we want to be heard, right? Healthcare, education, all the issues that matter elsewhere, but we want to be heard. Folks come here, they hear our ideas, then that's it. They get our vote and that's it.
You know, the other striking thing to me here is just the obvious math, which is when we do campaign reporting, by necessity, we're putting people in these like categories. You think of like Iowa, the Iowan voter, 3 million people, you got all kinds of folks in Iowa, right? I mean, when he's talking about, we got Burmese folks, we got different languages spoken here, like a big enough population, even in a place that's not, you know, statistically very diverse, is going to have its own diversity.
But that's right. But going back to the question you asked that I didn't really answer, the first is it's still divided by the Cedar River, right? The mostly black side of town on the east, white folks mostly on the west still, and so folks still are cloistered in their corners, and there are allegations of the subtle racism and the treatment by the police and the housing and the schooling, but they're trying to break out of that. You have these businesses that are propping up. You have a young black mayor going for his 3rd term. So the first black mayor elected and then elected again, and he's going for his 3rd time, and people believe that he may win again. And so they're trying to organize, they're trying to promote black businesses and trying to uplift the community.
Have candidates been coming through Waterloo?
Some have. So Elizabeth Warren has been there. Cory Booker has done some outreach. So they come there, but not specifically aimed at black voters. And that's the one thing that almost everyone I spoke to said, we don't even want a minority agenda, your black agenda. Because everyone gets lumped into the minority agenda. But what are you going to do for black folks? Give us something solid.
Waterloo, Iowa, Tremaine Lee, thank you for giving us that little dispatch. I learned a lot from it. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
All right. Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.